You may have experienced something like this. Think back to when you just got the results back of a neuropsychological assessment. You found out that your child tests in the profoundly gifted range, but you also may have found out that your child fits the diagnostic criteria for other learning differences. You might take some time to think through what that means for you as a parent, and you also know that you have to have another conversation, this time explaining the results to your child. Many families go into a neuropsychological assessment because they know that something is different, so sometimes these results aren't surprises. However, even if the results aren't a surprise, that doesn't mean you know how to have that conversation with your child. In this excerpt from our Parent Consulting Circle, a virtual Q&A event with parents, our family services team member responds to a question about how to discuss an autism twice exceptional diagnosis with a child. For more on this, there are links in the description of this video as well.
When I think about explaining a diagnosis to a child, I think about what the goals, what is it that you want your child to take away from this? Because as you said, this would not be surprising to this child. Most children aren't surprised that there is something that is different about them within our community. Most of our neurodivergent kids pick up on that pretty early. So when you have a diagnosis to share with your child, whether it's autism or profoundly giftedness or another learning difference, that's a really special opportunity for you as a parent. You get to share a story with your child about who they are. And you can craft that narrative however you see fit. And I know you're asking for specifics, and I will get to that. But you get to take this moment and really think about what is that you want your child to internalize about themselves. We make up lots of stories about ourselves. Humans at a core level are storytellers. And one of the first stories we learn is the story of ourselves, who we are. That you kind of get an opportunity to write a empowering story for your child and share that with them. So then specifics, like what do you actually say? Well, it sounds like you just went in for some testing. And so you can build from that experience. You can say like, hey, I know that we just did this thing. Let me tell you a bit about why we did this. So some parents take a kind of like scientific approach to it of just like, we are humans. Humans are complex beings, and we go to specialists, like we go to the dentist, like we go to the medical doctor, to check into our systems and see how they're operating. And then we do things after that. After we gather some information from going to those professionals, then we know what to do next. So we went to a neuropsychologist or whoever you went to, and they give us some more information about how you operate. So it turns out your brain is wired as an autistic individual. So what does that mean? And then you could lean into specifics of the strengths and challenges that you see in your child. Like, this helps us understand of like how you relate socially to people. This helps us understand how you learn. This helps us understand how you communicate, and then put in specifics. For example, one of the things may or may not be a part of your child's specific autism and twice exceptional profile. But one thing, for example, that some young scholars enjoy in terms of communication is info dumping or monologuing. That's a communication style that they prefer. And so then you can be like, so, when you like to like share lots of information, that's part of your wiring. We know kind of where that's happening in your brain now. So you can go in kind of that route and shared the specific diagnosis. You also don't have to share necessarily that label if that's not what you want to do. Some families just use a more general label like neurodiverse. It's really up to what you want to share as a family at this point in your child's life. And then right, the way out of that conversation is about next steps, which you already have lined up here with the IEP. So like, then you can say like, so now we have all of this information, you know, now we've talked about it. So next steps, we take this information and we go to the school and we talk to the school about, hey, we've learned more about how you learn. And then we're going to come up with a plan to support you in school. And that shows the child that, right, there's people at the school that are going to know and be supportive and helpful. There's like kind of next steps, like you're taking this information and you're doing something with it. That's all very empowering and helpful in showing the child that there's a community of support around them. The other way that other families have approached this is bringing in the tester into the conversation. So if you and your child had a good rapport for whoever did the diagnosis, that person can also be part of this conversation if you want them to be. And they can again kind of go through what they observed, what they saw, why they gave the specific tests, what kind of their thoughts are for next steps and things like that. And involving your child in next steps can also be helpful. So, you know, like giving them time to process and then saying like, okay, so what, you know, like we said, we're going to the school with this information. What do you think might be helpful in school? What kind of things would you like to see adjusted?
Now that we've heard a bit about how to have that conversation with your child, what about their siblings? That's a big question, but many of the ways to approach it are the same. Focusing on the strengths and unique qualities that each member of the family has can help ease into some of this and take the pressure off of your gifted child. In this next segment from the Parent Consulting Circle, our Family Services team member will go into detail about how to expand the giftedness or twice exceptional conversation to include the siblings or others. Stay tuned after the video for more information on the benefits of the Young Scholars Program and how you can directly access features like these virtual events.
Do we let other kids know? So I'm guessing you mean siblings here, but we can also talk about other children around your child. I think most families do let their siblings know, because again, this isn't something we necessarily need to hide, because it's just information, objective information about how our brains operate. And so this can help, having more information and understanding what works and what doesn't work in relating to your child. You can let the other siblings know of like, hey, we all have all of our brains are wired differently. And when we know more about how our brains are wired, we know more about how to relate to one another, how to support one another, which is why we're all part of the same family, to support and care for one another. So we know things about you and list out the strengths and challenges of that child that you're talking to. And we know things about your sibling and strengths and challenges they face. So kind of being inclusive in the sense of like, we all have differently wired brains. We all operate a little bit differently. Once we know those things, then we can better operate together. Has been helpful for other families. Because again, we're story making beings, and if you don't have an explanation for something, you'll make up a story. So, for example, a sibling might be like, oh, well, my sibling just will take a different kind of diagnosis. They might like, if they see their sibling like not paying attention to them, or kind of going off on their own, they might make up the story of like, my sibling doesn't care about me. But if we know that there's an attention issue going on, then they can say that you can change that story of like, oh, my sibling has attention, and I know that attention challenges, and I know that. So when I talk to them and I think that they're not listening to me, I can do something like a check-in of like, hey, did you listen to what I was saying? Or maybe like a touch on the shoulder to help redirect their attention, because I know that they're not doing this on purpose because they don't like me. That's not the story that's happening in front of me. Similarly, you can share this with other people outside of your family. And again, with other kids, you might start with their parents first and seeing how those adults react to this information. And some people are scared, understandably, to share this information because you don't know how other people are going to react. And there's a lot of misinformation and stereotypes out there about all of these diagnoses, about what giftedness looks like, about what autism looks like, which, are misguided a lot of the time. And so you don't know if that adult is going to react to misinformation or stereotypes and not your actual child. And maybe that other adult or parent is open to conversation and understanding, and maybe they're not. And then that's not an adult that you want your child to be around, because they won't support your child, they won't get to know them, they won't look outside of things.
Thank you for watching. The Davidson Young Scholars Program provides our members with opportunities to connect, engage, and access a range of family services to support them on their profoundly gifted or twice exceptional path. Want to learn more? We host application Q&As for families to learn more about our program, testing requirements, and the application. Visit our website, davidsongifted.org, and find the next available Q&A on the upcoming events tab. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the links in the description, and share your thoughts in the comments.